It's the end of the road for F1 2001, the magnificent Suzuka circuit, our venue for round 17 of the World Championship. Hello there from London. Welcome to the highlights of the Japanese Grand Prix. End of the season then, we say goodbye to two great characters, Mika Hakkinen, apparently for only a year, and Jean Alesi. But once again, the year has been totally dominated by Michael Schumacher, Mr. Perfection in qualifying. From Suzuka, here's Ted Kravitz.
It was perhaps the lap of the year. On a Suzuka circuit that calls for a car and driver in total harmony, Michael Schumacher set provisional pole and then beat even his own time to end up exactly 7/10 ahead of his nearest rival. That was Juan Pablo Montoya in the Williams BMW, still riding a late-season run of form and beating teammate Ralf Schumacher into the bargain. Williams emerging once again as one of the top two superpowers in Formula One. So pole number 11 for Schumacher, Montoya on the front row on his first Suzuka outing. Ralf Schumacher's third, then Rubens Barrichello, still chasing that second place in the championship. Row 3, Hakkinen and an ever-improving Fisichella. Row 4, Coulthard and Trulli. Jenson Button and Nick Heidfeld round out the top 10, with Jean Alesi 11th and Eddie Irvine 13th. Stand by for the Japanese Grand Prix then, with your commentators Martin Brundle and James Allen.
Any moment now. Off they go! Montoya, great start by Fisichella on the outside, but Schumacher cuts across, as he did to Mika Hakkinen this time last year. He has the honours into turn one. Montoya leads Ralf Schumacher, but Benetton well placed as well as Rubens Barrichello. Holds on to fourth place, going around the outside, but Ralf Schumacher into the S's.
Yes, indeed, both Benettons did fly off the line, and Fisichella ahead of the two McLarens then at this time. But Michael Schumacher easily made it into turn one. So the first four are away, absolutely. First five, in fact, that's not true. Fisichella is up to fifth. So first four away in grid formation, and Fisichella making that crucial move. That's bad news for McLaren. I think that's going to hold them up while they find a way past the Benetton.
Yes, they've had many successful strategies here over the years. Look at the gap already that Michael Schumacher has. We're expecting to see those Michelin tyres on the Williams holding them up as Rubens Barrichello attacks Ralf Schumacher into the hairpin. He wants to get past. He's probably running quite light on fuel. He knows his only chance is to get in front of the Williamses in the next 10 laps.
I agree with you. I think they will surely have started Barrichello on a very light fuel load in the hope that he can springboard past the Williams somewhere. There's a chance if you get a good run out of that corner spoon, and in the slipstream you can pass before 130R. Problem is, those BMW Williams are so fast in a straight line. But Barrichello appeared to be in a slipstream position. Yes, indeed he is. We're live on board, and he takes the inside line at third position. So he is light surely, and he did get perfectly in the slipstream. Hakkinen trying down the outside of Fisichella too, not this time around.
Great move by Rubens Barrichello. He goes up to third place. Ralf Schumacher down to fourth. Meanwhile, Fisichella and Hakkinen monstering each other as well, while out the front, Michael Schumacher. Look at that, 3.6 seconds on the opening lap. Explain that, Martin.
Well, he's just so good when there's an uncertain level of grip on a drizzly day or on the first lap of a Grand Prix, the first lap of qualifying. Michael Schumacher has this supreme confidence, and in any event, he's faster around here than anybody else at the moment, and it's no surprise he's pulling away. We did say that, but 3.6 seconds, that's amazing. And the Williams then have certainly got to go through a period of not being particularly fast until their tyres come into play.
A lot of controversy here this weekend about the Michelin tyres. They've been performing superbly when they're new. They're almost like qualifiers, but then the teams have been running them in, putting about 60 kilometres onto them, and they've almost gone down to slicks. You can see Juan Montoya's tyres on the grid. They're almost worn down to nothing. We're predicting some possible problems at the end of the race if Williams get a good result today, but we'll see. That's all for the future. For right now, Hakkinen attacking Fisichella. Schumacher pulling away at the front, and Rubens Barrichello now ready to attack, I would imagine, Juan Montoya for second place.
Well, the McLaren's not exactly all over the gearbox of that Benetton, are they? And this, the biggest scrap today in the championship is surely between Coulthard and Barrichello. for that second place. Coulthard needing it desperately. He's finished third so many times in the World Championship. He wants to step forward. He's playing it all down, but he clearly needs to finish second. But at the moment, Barrichello has to win this race. Michael will let him through, no doubt about it, if they're running 1 and 2 later on. But at the moment, Montoya is in the middle. And did I see? I think Barrichello's gone through into second place. Just out of the corner of the screen, Barrichello made a move into the final chicane. I believe Barrichello is up into second place, yes indeed.
Well, the computer agrees with you, Martin. We haven't seen it, but Rubens Barrichello snatches second from Juan Pablo Montoya. It's a Ferrari 1-2 on lap 2. There he is.
We think he's got
back in. He's been retaken. Look, Ralph's got him back again. So Montoya's got him back again. So Montoya back up into second place. Rubens down to third.
Here is a replay then. Look at both Benettons leaping off the line. Michael fast off the front, covers the inside line immediately. Doesn't need to, he realises. Takes the normal racing line and already begins to build that amazing lead.
Did you notice that Ralf Schumacher thought about going around the outside of his teammate Montoya? As you see it again, he's right around the outside. There is a possibility, but he backs out of it.
Montoya was smart though, he just stayed on the straight and narrow line, so there was no chance of tangling. And this then is your leader by 8.9 seconds on lap 5. Michael Schumacher having a laugh.
On board now with Rubens Barrichello, chasing down the monster. And a spinner, it's one of the Benettons. It could be Fisichella, is it?
Yes, it is. It's the lead Benetton, isn't it? So it must be Fisichella then. Did he have a tangle with Häkkinen? And there is a replay of Fisichella. He did get out of shape all by himself into the first Degner and then ends up broadsiding towards the second one, having to just yield to the Jordan. So Fisichella releasing the two McLarens. That'll be a relief for them. Oh, and that's a big accident with a Sauber, and we saw, which corner is that? That is obviously a Jordan of Alesi.
It's a Raikkonen and Alesi, I believe. And they've gone into the wall. There he is in his last Grand Prix, Jean Alesi, and he and Raikkonen were disputing 9th place. Alesi was just 0.2 of a second behind Raikkonen as they went into that lap. So obviously he's looking back with some concern towards the car of Kimi Raikkonen, and he's out of the car. There he is by the fire station sign. You can see the young Finnish driver, 21 years old, just touching his toes, obviously a bit winded there.
Here we go then. So Raikkonen loses it. He does. He puts his left front wheel. Oh, I believe that's in the Dunlop curve, and Alesi did indeed just collect him up. And now we're going to see, well, once again, the tether's not working particularly well. Lucky for Raikkonen, he did not. Oh, look, and a spare wheel going across the track. Amazingly, no, not a spare wheel, but a front wheel. Amazingly, nobody collected it. So I think Raikkonen just hooks his wheels on the curb, and oh no, he lost it on the bump. The back of the car bottomed out in the hollow and took him off towards the wall, and Alesi going off in sympathy and then getting together in a nasty way.
Just checking that he's okay, a shake of hands. Raikkonen, a pretty tough guy, a tough character, uncompromising. Well, au revoir, Jean. It's been a pleasure, a great, great pleasure.
Now Montoya is easily the fastest man on the track, and he's pulling Barrichello along with him. So Michael then has, I don't know whether he's overcooked his tyres or what's going on up front, but Michael dropping significant pace.
Yes, and the man on the move is Juan Montoya. He's even 0.4 of a second a lap faster than his own teammate, Ralf Schumacher. It's a two-stop race, this one, so everybody very keen to have the maximum advantage they can going into the first stop. We're expecting the cars to come in for their first stop in the early lap 20 sort of region. But we saw Jean Alesi crashing out just a moment ago. Louise Goodman is down there with him.
Yes, he's arrived back in the pit lane now. Jean, very nasty accident. Not really much that you could do about it, though, was there?
I have just to say we have been lucky, both of us. I am very happy I didn't hurt him because he was just on the front, and my nose is quite high, but I'm very happy. Everything at the end went very well. Just a bit sad to finish my career like that, but his life is motor racing, and we have to accept these situations.
You've given us many great years, Jean. Thanks and best of luck in your retirement.
So as we expected then, Barrichello started light to get past the Williams. It worked on Ralph, it worked on Montoya, but then Montoya stole it back again into turn 1, so not quite paying off, and Barrichello then really out of sync, out of phase in this Grand Prix, and that is putting his second place in the World Championship, very much at risk, no doubt about it.
Yes, he's going to come back around about 12th place, I imagine. Let's see which cars are on the track. One of the Jordans and one of the Benettons going through. That's 7th and 8th place, Trulli and Fisichella. So he slots in 9th, just ahead of Jenson Button. A big loss there for Rubens Barrichello. The strategy does not seem to have worked. It's lap 16. Michael Schumacher leads from Montoya. Then it's Ralf Schumacher 3rd, Häkkinen 4th, and Coulthard in 5th place.
Benetton then also ready. Looks like they too are on a 3-stopper. We're on lap 16 of the Grand Prix. 15 laps completed. There's the running order at the end of the 15th lap. You can see for yourselves at the bottom of the screen, but one of those two Benettons is coming in the pits this time. There then is Fisichella with the recovering Barrichello behind him, who has of course just pitted. Barrichello losing once more crucial time then in the traffic. That's the problem. If you get out of phase, you get back onto the racetrack in the thick of it, and they're racing for position, so they're not going to let him through easily, even though he's clearly going to finish ahead of them in the Grand Prix. Now, bear in mind that Rubens Barrichello's just taken fuel on as he gets a good drive out of that corner. Yeah, he'll easily pass him down the straight and gets position down there into... No, he hasn't done so. Why is that? I thought he would easily breeze past him there. Remembering, of course, though, that Barrichello has just taken on some fuel, but I still expected him, and now he's going to go up the inside, and Fisichella sensibly yielding. Well, he may be coming into the pits. There he goes. So it would have been very foolish to do anything other than yield. And so does Jarno Trulli. So the 7th and 8th place cars both dive in on lap 17. This is early for a 2-stop strategy, but they're racing each other for position. Both want the points for 4th place in the championship, trying to overtake Sauber, who are nowhere today. Massive relief there for Barrichello then to see both those cars pit ahead of him. He'll be so happy heading down to turn 1 with clear track in front of him. And obviously then the Jordan, it is a difficult pit lane there because there's a rain gully in the middle of it. Jordan then staying ahead and keeping that position. Yes, indeed. It's the order they came in Trulli and Fisichella. They'll have dropped down to about 13th or 14th place now, but hasn't Rubens Barrichello got himself out of jail there? Michael Schumacher, the race leader, with an 11-second advantage. Has he made the right decision on strategy? We're going to find out very shortly. He's going to lose a lot of places by making this stop a little bit early. Can he make them up later? How long does it take him? Let's see. Fuel on now. Yep. Sure, well, that's a short, isn't it? He'll be in again quite early on. And look, who is that going through? That is the McLaren of Häkkinen. So Michael then has fed back in to what will be 4th place. Häkkinen then up to 3rd. So the two Williams, 1st and 2nd. Williams looking ever so strong. Yeah, they are, aren't they? They really are. Some long faces over the weekend, but you just get the feeling that Williams, they were saying, paying lip service. You heard Ralf Schumacher in the introduction saying that Michael was on a planet of his own, as you see Juan Montoya just locking up that tyre there. But in fact, Williams have been quite confident themselves throughout the weekend. Montoya particularly confident. He really is riding on a crest of a wave at the moment. Feels that the car is performing the way he wants to. He's got a handle on Formula One. He's got supremacy over his teammate, and he's on the attack. How far behind him is his teammate, Ralf Schumacher? The answer, 5 seconds. And we're working on lap 19 now. So when are Williams going to make their stop? Only 2 retirements so far then. Raikkonen and Alesi, of course. Raikkonen spinning off after his car bottomed out in the long uphill left-hander of the Dunlop curve, and Alesi collecting him up on the way through, sort of spinning off or crashing off in sympathy. The only 2 cars out of this race, so 20 runners remaining. Michael getting held up behind the McLaren. That has not worked out well for him. Both Ferraris are stuck behind both McLarens at the moment because Barrichello is also stuck behind Coulthard, and so close coming out of the chicane down the hill. Surely Michael's going to have a good stab down into turn one, and we know he's blindingly fast down there. Will Hakkinen give him any space at all? And the answer is no way, thank you. Might be my last Grand Prix. You might have been my arch enemy in the last few years of my Grand Prix career. You are not coming through, mate.
Great stuff by Mika Hakkinen. What a fighter. There are plenty of people in the Formula One paddock who believe we have not seen the last of Mika Hakkinen. He had a press conference yesterday in which he said that he would love, believe it or not, to see his son Hugo take up kart racing in the future. He wants a Hakkinen dynasty, and he wants more Formula One championships and all the rest of it. Williams, though, getting ready. This is lap 21, so quite an early two-stopper for Williams, and look at how tired those tyres are already, just going on to the car for the next stint.
Well, remember in Belgium, Benetton also, and Hakkinen running wide. Will Michael get a run up the inside? No, he enabled him to get on the power, even though he was wide, get on the power quite early and keep defending that position. So Michael then losing time at this stage of the Grand Prix. Hakkinen clearly in a slower car, but defending extremely well.
Been a stop-and-go penalty for Enrique Benoldi, which we might see him take at some point, but at the moment we're focusing on this battle for third place between Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher. Montoya still leading the race by now 6.7 seconds. He's pulled out an advantage over Ralf, and this is why, because he was the first of the two Williamses to make the stop. Ralf Schumacher now leads the Japanese Grand Prix, the third different leader we've had this afternoon. How many more will we get?
I was saying, remember, Benetton left their front tyres on in the Belgian Grand Prix, their front Michelins, but they're changed for Williams. But they look very second-hand, don't they, already? And as expected, about 8 seconds worth of fuel then. So clearly a two-stopper, but look where he comes back out. It is behind Hakkinen, isn't it? And why is that Ferrari down the road like that? Why is Michael Schumacher? So was it Schumacher and Hakkinen? Oh no, that's Schumacher and Hakkinen. It must have been Coulthard and Barrichello then, that he's just got out behind Coulthard and in front of Barrichello.
And Louise is down there with Kimi Räikkönen now.
I am indeed. Kimi, first of all, I know you just been to the medical centre. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I had a little bit headache and a neck is a bit sore, but otherwise it's fine.
Tell us about that accident.
No, it's just suddenly I lost all the... I haven't seen the slow motion, it's difficult to say, but somebody told that the rear just slipped away and I just lost all the grip on the rear and spun off.
Absolutely perfect two-stop strategy to come in at the end of lap 23. And just mind-blowing how they changed direction in the Formula One cars now with the softer tyres they're running this year and the way they've developed the cars. It's just breathtaking to see how aggressive the drivers can be on the steering wheel, and of course he takes to the pit lane. We're looking for a white line down there near the white bridge over the track. There it is now, and he has to be on the speed limiter.
Yes, and the mechanics have to be on their toes as well, because he's going to take out 24 seconds, and this is the man he's got to get back out in front of, Rubens Barrichello. Can he do it? If he doesn't, he'll be down in 5th place, and it's not at all what Ralf Schumacher wants. Montoya, his teammate, is in front of Barrichello. What's going to happen? Can he get out in front of the Ferrari?
No chance. Montoya goes past now, Barrichello goes past, but don't forget Barrichello has to stop a second time. And that will be Hakkinen, your 4th race leader of the afternoon, pitting for the first time, Ted Kravitz.
This duel between Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher, the old rival, suspended for just a moment now as Mika Hakkinen comes rocketing into his pit box. A brand new set of Bridgestones go on. The fuel hose is on, no problem. A very worn set of Bridgestones off. He lights up the rear tyres and he's off. What's the time? It's a good stop.
7.6 seconds is the time, Ted. So yes, a very good stop for McLaren, and that will keep Hakkinen clearly ahead of David Coulthard. So we now think Michael Schumacher leads from Montoya and Barrichello.
As Eddie Irvine retires from 10th place in the Jaguars, so the man who got a great result in America 2 weeks ago, finishing the season on a bit of a low, frankly.
And an incident involving car 5, that's Ralf Schumacher, under investigation by the stewards. I hope he hasn't run over that white line again like he did back in Nürburgring. So for whatever reason, Ralf Schumacher, currently running 4th, is under investigation. And a stop-go penalty then for cutting the chicane with advantage. Ralf Schumacher, unseen by us, has jumped across the chicane, taken an advantage or saved a place somehow, and will get a 10-second stop and go. That will cost him about 26 seconds in total.
We hear from the pit lane, the ITV F1 pit crew, that Rubens Barrichello is coming in, and there it is. Rubens Barrichello then dives in on lap 1:29, bang on target for a 3-stopper. And this is his second stop. Will they put a bit more fuel in this time? And there's Ralf Schumacher just behind, coming in to serve his stop-and-go penalty.
So doesn't it look so painfully slow as they come down the pit lane, they cross the rain gully. It's very slippery on that very fine concrete they have there, and this is just a simple 10-second, and he's got to put it into first gear now, is what his lollipop will say in front of him. And Barrichello with a long stop. Barrichello taking an awful long time to get away, but still gets out in front of Ralf Schumacher, and Ralf nails him on the pit exit. Did he cross the white line? Barrichello clearly could not get his speed limiter off or something, and Ralf, really an opportunist move. Will he get another penalty?
Well, I'd like to see a replay of that, because it looked very much to me as though the left rear wheel of that Williams crossed the white line. Now, cast your mind back, folks, to the Nürburgring Grand Prix, the European Grand Prix in June. Remember how Ralf Schumacher had that race bought and paid for, but on his second pit stop, he came out of the pit lane and crossed that white line. He just swung out onto the track a little bit carelessly, and the stewards gave him a 10-second stop-and-go penalty for it. It lost him the race that day. Are they going to give him another one today? We will find out shortly.
Verstappen also under investigation now, but he's down in 15th, hardly a contender in this Grand Prix, but I would assume for similar circumstance.
Is Ralf Schumacher allowed to slow Rubens Barrichello up at this stage? He knows he's almost certainly got to come back in for a stop and go. He hasn't been given it yet, though, has he? So he can do what he likes at the moment.
Yeah, he can run him off the road if he wants. It's up to him. In many respects, he might get penalised for that too if it's too blatant. But look, we know Rubens is quick under braking it and takes a desperate lunge up the inside, and that works a treat. And once again, Ralf jumps across the chicane and keeps, in my view, yet another advantage. He should get off the throttle pedal and let Rubens through. And look, Rubens has got his finger up in the air saying, you can't do that, my friend. You can't get away with that. And he goes round the outside of him. Brilliant move. So busy was he talking to the pit wall saying you can't do that. He then pulls a fabulous move into turn one. Great driving from Rubens Barrichello.
Oh, what a bold move by Rubens. Amazing stuff. Said at the earlier part of this weekend that he feels that the best he's ever felt in his life. Just became a father for the first time 3 weeks ago. He's on top of his game. He's got the full support now of the Ferrari team. Now then, what's the news? 10-second stop-and-go penalty for car 14.
Verstappen.
And that is Verstappen. That's for overtaking on the formation lap. It's taken him a while to suss that one out, hasn't it?
Certainly has, hasn't it? That's all of 36 laps ago. So good effort there by somebody to obviously been scratching their chins on that one for a long time. I don't know why it had taken so long. I thought there was a time limit on when you could get a penalty like that. I thought it was 20 minutes, actually.
I'm sure Verstappen feels the same. I'll tell you what they've been doing. They've been wondering what Ralf Schumacher's up to for most of the afternoon, haven't
they?
Yeah,
that's true.
They've had a lot to entertain them.
They've been behind closed doors, haven't they? So Benetton then ready for a Fisichella pit stop. He was 7th when he came in. We haven't seen the race pace we probably expected from this Benetton compared to their stunning 6th and 9th on the grid, of course, but a reasonable stop. And this then is surely Michael's second stop and final stop, hopefully, of the afternoon for him. And approaching the pit garage. It's a long pit lane here in Suzuka. It's quick in. It's a long way down, and they've flipped it around this year, so the front runners are all down at the far end, and of course it is Michael Schumacher. What are they going to do about this? I think they're going to have to put a good 9 seconds worth of gas in it this time around, otherwise he'll be going for a splash and dash at the end. Well,
no, that's enough. That's about 50 kilos of fuel, I believe, that's gone in. Is he going to rejoin in front of the McLaren? He can't cross that white line, and Hakkinen sweeps through into second place. Michael Schumacher then down to third. Juan Montoya is once again the leader of this race.
You don't know how much Michael had in when he started the race, but he quite clearly stopped earlier than any of the other 2 stoppers. But Montoya then has cleared the BAR. We saw that happen, has not cleared the Jordan. Will have to go through the chicane, and the pit entry is just on the exit and bouncing across the curb. He knows he's got to get on with it, and that's a frustrating time for him. Ted is down there.
So, Martin, Williams' hopes rest on this man, the Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya. He needs to now deliver a result for him because of Ralph's crazy day. I haven't seen him in the pit lane. Here he is. No, he comes into his box, stops well, the tyres are well worn, and the fuel hose is on. There's no problems there. Another set of scrubbed Michelins on for that. The fuel hose is off as McLaren are ready now. Juan Pablo Montoya away, and expect McLaren in very shortly. But out in front goes Michael Schumacher again, retakes the lead for the third different time this afternoon, but at least Montoya gets out in front of Häkkinen. So Montoya maintains his second place, but unfortunately for him, he wasn't able to capitalise on that opportunity.
Yes, so Michael does lead. He was behind Häkkinen on the previous lap, but Häkkinen has also pitted. So Michael then back in the lead of the Grand Prix. But he, Michael then clearly has maintained that advantage.
He has indeed. It was Coulthard that Montoya emerged in front of, although it was Häkkinen going into that lap who was behind Michael Schumacher. In fact, he dived into the pits as we saw, so it's all shaking out here. We said Grand Prix racing was boring.
Another rip-off came off there for Michael Schumacher. I saw Montoya pulling at one, coming down the pit lane. When you're going slowly, you have to be so careful that doesn't get sucked into your airbox and it sits on the filter and can hamper the rest of your afternoon. You have to be very careful when you get rid of those rip-offs, especially at low speed. So how is it all going to shake out? The only one of the top four yet to make another pit stop is David Coulthard. Barrichello not making any progress down there, back in fifth, lapping about the same pace as the McLarens, but 15 seconds behind. No sign of any further penalties for Ralf Schumacher. We know he's still under investigation for crossing the white line.
So Montoya second, Häkkinen third. You don't see him, you're seeing Coulthard on the road at the moment. Is he going to dive into the pit lane? He does. So that will put Häkkinen back into third place. So David Coulthard out of position due to the fact that he hadn't made his second and final pit stop. Montoya, though, well, traffic will definitely be a story of the race for him. He could have had an opportunity to win this race, but so many cars in front of him when that opportunity presented itself. Coulthard in there.
Right, so Montoya then, he was 6.3 down when this pit stop series started, and now he's 5 seconds behind leader Michael Schumacher. He couldn't go far enough to make the difference. Ralf in then for his second and final stop of the afternoon. As I said, no sign of any further penalties from him. He came in sixth place, of course. He did have a stop and go, cost him 26 seconds, and that's why he's out of position, really. He's down in sixth place.
Lap 40, 13 to go here in Suzuka. Michael Schumacher leading, but the gap is the smallest it's been all afternoon, pretty much since the start. Just 5 seconds between himself and Juan Montoya. Let's hope we're going to go out on a high here at the final race of the championship between the two drivers who many predict will be duking it out next year for the World Championship. Third, Coulthard. Fourth, Barrichello. Fifth, Häkkinen. Sixth, Ralf Schumacher. Welcome back to Suzuka. Lap 42, just 12 laps remaining. And this race still up for grabs between Michael Schumacher and Juan Montoya. Although you have to say Michael Schumacher has eked out the advantage a bit by 1.7 seconds. Meanwhile, Rubens Barrichello in from third place for his third and final stop. A decent stop by Ferrari. He blends back in again, down in around about fifth place, I think, maybe sixth place. We'll find out when the computer sorts itself out. There's Mika Häkkinen. Now he's promoted to third place, a podium position possibly on his last Grand Prix outing for a little while. He's been on the podium here for the last 6 years, Mika Häkkinen. Is he going to make it 7 in a row? Terrific drive by him today, but unseen really to a large extent by everybody else. Led the race very briefly during Michael Schumacher and Montoya's pit stops. Never quite a contender for victory, but going well in third place. But you're looking, though, at Juan Montoya, just taking 0.4 of a second out of race leader Michael Schumacher, but only with 9 laps remaining, Schumacher can afford almost to give away a second a lap to the Colombian and still win this race. Well, 10 out of 10 for trying, Juan Pablo. You really have given us some superb entertainment. Look at that. What a great guy. He's giving it one, isn't he, around this circuit. He's not going to give up. And that's one thing that's characterised Michael Schumacher really in the last 10 years of his career. He never gives up until he sees a checkered flag, and now we've got another one. And Mika Häkkinen to some extent was like that as well, but this guy just does not give up,
I'd be amazed if he's not a Formula 1 world champion at some point. And I was talking to one of his good friends the other day, and he said, oh yeah, he's moaning and bitching about some understeer. And I'm thinking, you what, you've got to be joking. I've never seen him anything other than sideways. So Montoya does love to hustle a car along, and it's certainly such a pleasure to watch him do that. But the lead then remains at exactly 8 seconds last time they passed the start-finish line.
It's the closing stages of the 2001 Japanese Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher heading possibly for his 9th victory of the season. Not a record, he's done it twice before in this amazing career of his. Can Juan Montoya do anything about it? Well, answer possibly. 9/10 of a second on that lap the Colombian took out of Michael. Is the German backing off? Is Montoya on fire? We're going to find out in the next 7 laps, but Schumacher coming up against traffic now in the form of Villeneuve and Jarno Trulli. This is the scrap for 9th place. Behind Schumacher and Montoya, Hakkinen and Coulthard half a minute behind. It's just between these two now in the last 7 laps of the race.
Yeah, come on, Montoya, make it worth the Brits getting up early in the morning to watch you. He is certainly pulling in down from 8 odd seconds to 6.2. He's a 10th up in the first sector of the current lap that they're on. We'll be getting a second sector time quite soon. Michael has now gone through that, but as you said, 2 pieces of traffic ahead of him that are in their own particular squabble, and Montoya takes another 6/10 out in the middle sector. Look, the gap down to 5.6, so suddenly a resurgence from him just at the same time as Michael gets traffic. Villeneuve is going to yield easily down the pit straight. That helps Michael Schumacher enormously, and now he's broken that squabble up. He should easily clear the Jordan of Trulli as well. So Montoya 5.4 seconds behind as he went over the line.
Can he be more aggressive through the traffic than Michael Schumacher? It's hard to believe us even saying those words, because nobody in the last 10 years has been more aggressive through traffic than Michael Schumacher, ever since Ayrton Senna was sadly killed in '94. But look at that, just carves his way around the outside. A fair degree of compliance, though, from Jarno Trulli, you have to say. Will he be as compliant when Montoya comes through? Montoya has 3 cars to pass as Villeneuve tries to take advantage of Trulli's generosity. That's the battle for 9th place, with Heidfeld also in the scrap now. Look at that.
2 more great scraps on the racetrack. 3rd place man Hakkinen just half a second ahead of 4th place man Coulthard. 5th man Barrichello just 0.8 ahead of Ralf Schumacher, who appears to have got away with all of his earlier misdemeanors.
Was that Fisichella slowing down from 7th place? I believe it was. They just sailed past the Benetton.
It could have been Fisichella or Button.
Could have been either of them.
Yes, they're 7th and 8th, so could have been either one of the 2 Benettons. Button has had a decent afternoon, lapping just at the moment 2.2 seconds behind Fisichella. Which one of those Benettons did we see trailing out of the corner of the picture? And there is Montoya then coming up to those 3 cars he must lap with great urgency.
It's going to be a showdown finish here at Suzuka. Juan Montoya is pushing as hard as he possibly could. Took 9/10 of a second out of Michael Schumacher through the traffic on that lap. 5.4 seconds the gap. 5 laps remaining. Can he get through those 3 cars better than Michael did? Can he close them down? Because Schumacher has more traffic ahead of him. It's a real edge of the seat finish to the Formula 1 Championship. Look at the brake disc just glowing bright red. He's pushing very hard.
5.1 seconds and 3 back markers. That's the problem. And he's meeting them in the snake through 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 turns. And then this is not a good part of the racetrack to catch traffic, no doubt about it. You've got the 2 Degners ahead of you at the top of this hill, then underneath the flyover into the hairpin. There is the sign that Michael Schumacher has just received, but this is the view ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya in terms of 3 cars to lap. And Coulthard has passed Hakkinen, or he was alongside him going on the pit straight, absolutely identical times, and it was indeed Fisichella pulling out of the race. Button up to 7th, and we think Coulthard has probably moved up to 3rd out of view of the cameras.
So no podium for Mika Hakkinen on his possible Grand Prix finale, but here's Montoya. He's not finished yet. Well, the Williams team call him the Monster. Can he live up to his nickname when it comes to back markers? We're about to find out as Michael Schumacher goes into 130R for the 49th time of this 53-lap Japanese Grand Prix, and Montoya has got it down to 5.1 seconds.
1 down, 2 to go though on the traffic. See, he's only passed one of those 3 in a complete 3.6-mile lap of the circuit. So there are the 2 McLarens, the second one of which is now Mika Hakkinen, and I don't know if he has gremlins. Hakkinen was slow in sector 1, he looks slow in sector 2, so it is Hakkinen Hakkinen going to have some kind of problem just at the end of what may be his final Grand Prix, but certainly his final Grand Prix for a while.
Michael Schumacher has increased the lead by 0.6 of a second, so he's starting to smell the victory champagne, feel a little bit more comfortable. He has not got the 26-year-old Colombian breathing down his neck as much as he did before. Sublime performance again from Michael Schumacher, but you have to say a sublime performance as well by Juan Montoya. 3 laps to go, Martin. A very difficult one, this. Who's your driver of the day?
It's got to be Michael, hasn't it? I mean, a stunning pole, head and shoulders above anybody else. Led into the first corner, really a decent strategy. I think they covered themselves each way on a 3-stopper and a 2-stopper, stretched it out to us 2. We're sure he won't have to stop again. Well, it'd be amazing if he does. It'll be a real faux pas if he has to stop again. And what are we watching here? We're watching a replay of Villeneuve spinning in the final chicane, and that won't do his fight with truly any good at all. And I think he's now also lost out to Heidfeld. Heidfeld taking over 9, Villeneuve slipping back down to 10th.
We've had 4 different race leaders. Michael Schumacher has lost and regained the lead on 3 separate occasions as Montoya chips away at the advantage, but Schumacher led away from the start, very aggressive, sweeping across the bows of Juan Montoya, who was starting from the 2nd place on the grid. Rubens Barrichello made a bold move to get past Montoya, but he retook him for 2nd place in the early stages. A big accident on lap 5 between Jean Alesi in his final Grand Prix and Kimi Raikkonen, who's off to McLaren next year. Schumacher made his first pit stop on lap 17. It seemed early, we wondered whether he was on a 3-stopper, but in fact he was on a 2. We've had Montoya leading, we've had Ralf Schumacher leading, we've had Mika Hakkinen leading as well. We've had stop-and-go penalties from Ralf Schumacher, we've had drama, we've had excitement, we've had speed, and we've had a world champion who came into this race on top, who looks like he's going to go out of this race on top, because Michael Schumacher really has been the class of the field this year and this afternoon, hasn't he, Martin?
He certainly has, and he's going to be just about double the points of 2nd place man Coulthard. I think that shows what I was saying earlier on in the programme. It's really the first time we've seen Michael, who's at the top of his form and I think the best driver in the world, no doubt about it, in the best car, and that is the dramatic effect. He is going to be some 58 points clear of 2nd place man Coulthard and some 60-odd clear of his teammate.
Hats off then to Juan Montoya for putting up a great fight this afternoon, but it's Michael Schumacher who takes the last record that Alain Prost held as the record points scorer of all time. It's now Michael Schumacher's. All the significant records have fallen to the German in the last few months. Michael Schumacher wins the Japanese Grand Prix for the 2nd year in succession, his 9th win of the championship season. A brilliant performance. Juan Montoya crosses the line after a stellar drive in 2nd place, and we wait now for David Coulthard, who will grab the final podium position, and there he is. A great season for David Coulthard. He thought he might have had a chat at the championship, but he hasn't won a race since Austria, and really mechanical problems put paid to him. Mika Hakkinen, in possibly his last Grand Prix, comes across the line in 4th place. What a breathtaking and thoroughly exciting Japanese Grand Prix, Martin.
Well, it certainly was changing around, wasn't it? Strategy played a part. Michelin tyres coming in later in the race certainly, as ever, put Williams in with a shout, but Michael has been too strong for them all weekend, right from the first lap of free practice.
Well, it wasn't a championship decider today. This man already clinched that back in August, would you believe, in Hungary, and don't we know it. But today was all about Michael Schumacher. I can tell you the crowd was 150,000 people here. Not since, well, a decade ago has Formula One been so popular, so fashionable in Japan. We've got Honda coming in next year, Toyota, Takuma Sato as well as a driver, but this really has been all about this man.
Exciting news is about 6 hours from now, Michael Schumacher will be singing old Beatles songs in the karaoke cabin and 3 parts drunk, and by midnight he'll be fully drunk.
And you'll be with him, presumably?
No, I'll be having quiet dinner somewhere.
A joyous end to what's been a really tremendous season of Grand Prix racing. Next year's going to be pretty good, I'm sure, as well. Will this man win again? Will Williams come through? And what about McLaren? So much to look forward to.
Another victory in Japan. Michael Schumacher starting and finishing the season on top of the podium and shattering all sorts of records along the way. The man remains different class.
It's a great season which has finished. Yeah, even I'm struggling to find the right words now. The point is that with that result to go into the winter break, that's obviously very nice. You can relax, you can look forward to next year, and the team obviously can be relaxed, especially after what happened a little bit the last two races. In sport generally, people put very quickly question marks about your competitiveness, and that's the way to answer them.
I think it's good. You know, it's a bit disappointing that that Michael had new tires and it was too quick for us, especially in the first few laps. But that's the races, and I think it shows that Michelin is going to have to work really hard.
At which point did you realise that you were going to have to settle for second?
But I started trying to catch Michael before my last stop, and I was starting to catch him. But when I came out of the pits and again we had the grain tires where they cleaned up, there had no chance.
But on the whole, it's been a pretty monster season for you, your rookie year.
I can't complain. I've been competitive. I'm very close to winning quite a few races. I've been quite unlucky, but another podium to finish the season is pretty good.
You ended up on the podium, but was that slightly unexpected?
Yeah, it was, and not really deserved in terms of I didn't overtake anyone. Mika moved over and let me through. Obviously feels that goes to cancel out me moving over and giving him a victory, but there's a bit of a points difference. But nonetheless, it was a nice gesture, so I gladly accept it. And now we just we need to do our work. A lot of work obviously to do to try and reduce the gap that we've seen grow during the course of the season.
No, it wasn't to be today. We try very hard to be. If I had gone past the Williams on my first two tires, I think I had the speed. Eventually, I just had so many problems during the race. I went past Montoya, and he went past me again because there was no way we could have gone through that corner in two. And then I had serious problems. I had a pit stop problem, which the car died when I when I call for first gear, and later on with Ralph just not being honest enough and just cutting the thing. I lost a lot of time with him.
Let me just confirm the Suzuka result for you. 10 out of 10 for Michael Schumacher. Juan Pablo Montoya, the Colombian, in second place. Coulthard third. Hakkinen fourth. Barrichello fifth. And Ralf Schumacher, on a very strange day for him, scoring just 1 point. The final standings, well, Michael Schumacher effectively lapping everyone to take his fourth title. Coulthard runner-up. That's his best season yet. Then Barrichello. Ralf Schumacher won 3 races. Hakkinen's off to recharge his batteries. Montoya, Monza winner. He has made a huge impression. In the constructors, Ferrari miles clear. McLaren past 3 figures. Good season for Williams as well. Sauber, what a revelation they have been, clinching that 4th place. And BAR getting 5th on the back of Villeneuve's podiums in Spain and in Germany. Right, let's have a word with Tony Jardine. Tony, we wondered about Michael Schumacher at the start of the Japanese Grand Prix. He's had problems there in the past, but no worries for him there.
Very difficult downhill start, Jim. It's notorious into turn 1 there. You can remember 1990, Ayrton Senna taking out Alain Prost, but great start from Michael Schumacher here. So look at Fisichella trying to go through on the inside, but when you look again from another angle, you see just Schumacher straight across. That's one of his classic textbook moves, right across the bows of the opposition, making sure that they're blocked. Quite legitimate for him to do that, but a great move, letting everyone know what he's doing, his intentions from the start.
There was a very nasty accident in the course of the Japanese Grand Prix, and Formula One will be breathing a huge sigh of relief on the back of it.
Yeah, it just shows why these cars have to be so strong and why they've got to increase safety measure next year. Almost a T-bone there from Alesi into Raikkonen. Kimi Raikkonen, the Grand Prix rookie who's done so well this year and is going to McLaren. McLaren probably worried there at that point about their investment for next season. But all the wheels going off of this car, and there's Raikkonen losing it. Alesi, unfortunately, losing his record of equaling Ginther's record from 1964 of finishing all the races, just saying to Kimi there, "You okay, son?" "Yeah, fine." There's the 37-year-old bowing out.
Well, Tony, not too much sportsmanship between Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher, starting off with a bit of a scrap in the pits.
Well, Barrichello had already come into the pits, and then Ralf was coming in for his 10-second stop and go because he'd gone across a chicane, and the steward said he'd gained an advantage from that. Look at him coming out behind Barrichello. Barrichello stopped very slow. At that point there, he went across the crossed-hatched white lines, demarking the end of the Armco barrier. Now, I think that's even more dangerous because a driver coming close to them could be unsighted, and he dives out past the end of those lines.
What's the matter with Ralf Schumacher at the moment? He should be on top of the world. He's just got married, isn't he? I mean, aren't things going well at home, Tony? You know, this sort of thing. Well, is he upset with Montoya? What is it?
Yeah, he's upset by Montoya, but the thing is, he went away and got married quietly on his own. Just he and Cora Brinkman. He didn't tell his brother, didn't tell her parents, their parents. She's demanding a rerun in full white. He's demanding they do it in fireproof white overalls, so there's a right to do at home. But definitely Montoya is getting the upper hand, and he's rattled.
Right, perhaps the thought of having another wedding that was on his mind when he was swerving around in front of Rubens then, who knows?
Well, I think the prospect of another penalty, knowing he already knows it's all going wrong, and he dives past Rubens here, cuts across the chicane as well. That's a real naughty and gains an advantage. And I wouldn't be surprised if he'd been taken quietly to one side by the stewards and actually left there.
Well, his elder brother, Michael, I mean, no question about him. We can't fault him in any way. We've struggled to fault him all season, really, haven't we? And we just have to salute Michael Schumacher once again as the best in the world.
Speed, reliability, just those two failures, one at San Marino with brake problems, another one with the transmission problems in Hockenheim when he had that huge accident. He's had big accidents as well, one at Monza, which he survived in testing. The big one, remember, he rolled in Australia. 53 wins, Jim, in his starts. It's about something like a 35% strike rate. And I think in 199 Grand Prix, Prost had a strike rate of something like about 25%.
And over 800 points as well. And I guess the worrying thing is for 2002, there's a better Ferrari along the way, and there's no reason why Michael Schumacher shouldn't get better.
He says this is the Ferrari era, and they went to Fiorano to test a revolutionary new gearbox before they came here. They actually ran a slightly wider updated chassis here in preparation for 2002, so the opposition have a lot to fear.
Tony, thanks for your input throughout the season.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it. OK, be sure to watch out for a Murray Walker documentary coming up here on ITV early next month. It's a really good show as well, I can tell you. The unmistakable Murray Walker. That's when we come back, 2nd of March 2002. Live qualifying from Melbourne and the race live, ITV, March the 3rd, 2002. So on behalf of the whole ITV F1 team, many thanks for your company throughout the year. Good night to you all.